Aloha and welcome everybody to Augie's Community Corner. I'm Augie Tulba. Hope you guys doing amazing. You know, when I walk in my neighborhood or in my district and I talk to families and kupuna, always consistently, they talk about public safety. So today, you know, we are joined by Sergeant Edmund Ho from the Honolulu Police Department, Crimestoppers coordinator, who helps keep our community safe. He brings more than 13 years of law enforcement experience, including service as a community policing team officer and detective. Sergeant Ho.
Hello, Augie.
All right.
Appreciate
So let's get into it because it is a huge concern and something that I always support in the last 5 years as a city council member, because that is the one thing that's on people's mind, you know, public safety. So, you know, for viewers who may not be familiar with the program, can you explain what Honolulu Crimestoppers does?
Yeah, so, you know, pretty much in a nutshell, the easiest way to describe it is Crimestoppers Honolulu is a nonprofit organization. And what we try and do is we work in partnership with the Honolulu Police Department, we work in partnership with community members, we work in partnership with, you know, lawmakers, you know, people like yourself, right?
Yeah.
That all together with networking, we work together to reduce crime, right? Improve the quality of life in our community, right? Make the city and county of Honolulu a safer place by encouraging anonymous information exchange to allow the detectives of the police department to help solve crimes.
So a tool, guys, it's a tool. It's,
Yes.
To help the police officers do their job better, maybe even more efficient, because they get extra resources from you guys.
Yes, exactly.
In calls.
Right.
In calls, right?
Right.
So how did Crimestoppers get started, and how long has the program been serving our community right now?
You know, that's a great question. So, celebrating the 50th year this year, yeah? In 1976, in Arizona, a detective was tasked with solving a case. It was a murder case that he had absolutely no leads for. He had some experience in the community through newspaper, through radio, and he used his experience in both to reenact the crime and air it. And lo and behold, he even put up his own money, right, as a reward. And lo and behold, someone from the community saw the reenactment, was there at the time, didn't realize what was going on and what had happened, but that was enough for that person to come forward, give details, and allow the detective to solve the crime.
And again, it's another, like a tool, right? Because
Right.
other than that was like sketches.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
sketch.
Yeah.
And he's doing
it was challenging,
reenactment,
right?
right? He's trying to get people that maybe might have seen what happened to get involved. Yeah. So, what is the most important thing you want the public to understand about Crimestoppers?
So the most important thing is, as we move forward, so national organization 50 years ago,
Yeah.
Crimestoppers Honolulu 45 years ago, right? So it all started for us based on, like I said, that partnership, that idea of bringing the community in to help the police department, right? And so, you know, at the end of the day, nothing could be further than that basis to this day, right? There's more people than there are police officers, right? There's more eyes and ears out there than there are people with, you know, actual knowledge of what happened. And so all we, you know, strive for is creating this opportunity for people that have seen something, right? That they can come forward and feel safe doing it, right? They can report it anonymously without anybody knowing that it was them, right?
Is there like challenges because we live in such a tight-knit community, everybody know each other, right?
Right.
And that's why, you know, being anonymous is super important. But at the same time, it's like, you know, everybody know that auntie that looking.
yeah.
So it's been that's my motto, by the way. That's my mom. My mom was in a neighborhood was called Channel 9. My mom knew everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, everybody. But in this day and age with social media, you know, and the way people get information, is it challenging or is it getting easier?
You know, I would say it's still a big challenge.
Okay.
Because a lot of times people still don't understand
Right.
the basic concept of the anonymity, right?
Mm-hmm.
They feel that, you know, if they say something that somebody's listening, somebody's watching them, or, you know, somebody gonna figure out that, oh, I know it was you that
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that, right? But, you know, I can give, you know, my 100% confidence, right? That when you call our call center, the very first thing that our volunteers do when they answer the phone is they say, please remain anonymous, right? And our call center does not have caller ID. So whenever the phone rings, we pick up the line. There's no caller ID number. There's nothing that traces it back to the person that's calling, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing that I would say though is, because I've heard it from myself, when people do call, sometimes they give a little bit too much information, right? So to truly remain anonymous, right? Don't say that it's my next door neighbor, right?
Right.
Because if you're giving us an address and you're saying it's your next door neighbor, well, process of elimination, you can kind of figure, okay, going to either be this neighbor or
Right.
that neighbor, right? So, you know, 100% keep yourselves
You know how many jokes
anonymous.
is running through my head right now?
I can only imagine.
No,
Augie.
no, no, but like, no, I get it. You know, and at this, you know, you get the reward money. They'll be like, oh, look what I got.
Right, and that's the other feature of our program, right? Is that awesome reward money, right? So, you know, on that note, we got to clear that up too,
Okay.
right? Because in fine print it says you may be eligible for
Right.
up to $1,000, right?
A lot of people
you
don't
are
read the fine
guaranteed
print.
$1,000.
So a lot of
okay?
people don't read the fine print. It does say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know, you have to read every line, and you know, and make sure you stay anonymous.
Yes, keep yourself anonymous,
So,
please.
you know,
Keep
there are
yourself anonymous.
sometimes confusions about calling Crimestoppers versus calling 911. So, when should someone contact Crimestoppers, and when should they call 911 or police directly?
You know, that's one of the other sets of challenges since I've taken over the program.
Right.
A lot of the calls that come in, the callers have good intentions, and we appreciate that, right? At the end of the day, that's what we're asking for, right? Is for the community to come forth and give us the information. But there is a difference between the information that is posted either through our social media, our Instagram, or Facebook, or featured fugitives that our media partners put out for us, or on our website that has, you know, people that we're looking for. So if you see a post that comes from Crimestoppers and it says, right, Crimestoppers Honolulu is looking for a missing person, a suspect in a case, a featured fugitive. If you have information for that person, then call us, please. Okay?
Right.
Now, if you just happen to be searching the internet or surfing on Ikokua website and you happen to see somebody with a $5,000 warrant or whatever, and you go, oh, that's my next door neighbor, I'm going to call and I'm going to tell you who he is. Well, sometimes, unfortunately, there's certain criteria of how I feature and the
Right.
method that I use to determine who's featured and who's not, right? So in those kind of cases, please understand that if you call and we say that, oh, we didn't feature them, that, you know, don't take it personally, right?
Okay.
Because there are more warrants than there are time in the day for me to research and read cases and feature certain people, right?
Yeah.
And then now, when we talk about the importance of calling 911 versus sending us the information, in the example that there is a crime in progress, you witness somebody get robbed, please call 911 directly.
Right.
Right? We are not always in the office. We are not always available, right? when I'm here doing interviews
Yeah.
and information comes in about a crime in progress, I can't take any action on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because I'm here
Yeah.
taking care of business here, right? So, if it's something that requires immediate assistance, right? Immediate threat to somebody's life, immediate danger to the public, be the best witness possible, right? Get as much details as you can of the suspect or the people involved. Call it in as an emergency, state your location, state what you saw, state where you last saw the crime taking place. Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
being very detailed, like reading.
Very much
You know,
like reading,
got
yeah.
me- I mean, making sure, like, it says everything. Read the fine print.
Right.
But then also, describe the fine print so that, they get good reports back to them and stuff, So, why is it so important for the community to embrace the message? If you see something, say something.
So again, right, I kind of hinted to that earlier, right? That
Right.
there's more members of the public, there's
Yes.
more eyes and ears in the community than there are law enforcement officers, than there are investigators, right? So, we always say that the best way for the community to be able to make a difference is to share that information, share that knowledge that you have, to be able to allow, in the case of maybe there's suspicion of a gambling establishment,
House,
right?
right, yeah.
There's suspicion of a drug deal going on, right? Suspicion of, a puppy mill or, cruel, inhumane conditions for animals happening.
And that's when you
right?
call 911 and not Crimestoppers.
Well, that's where the line can get a little bit, blurred, so to speak, right?
Okay.
Because if there's a suspicion of
Right.
it, it's hard for a patrol officer to take action
Correct.
on the suspicion, right? But if there's enough information that we can send it to, like our narcotics vice division, we can send it to Humane Society for them to send, right?
Right.
Then those are the ways that the members of the
And
community
it's why
makes
it's
a
so
difference.
important, like, to report and call,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
the more you have data, the more you have stats, the more easy it is for the police to take action. Again, but it goes all, again, I get it, because we're seeing this in schools with bullying, parents worried about retaliation, but you know this as well as I do. Sometimes it's just worth doing because you're not only helping yourself or your son, you're helping a lot of people.
Yeah,
You're helping,
exactly.
not just you. And a lot of times we worried, right?
Right.
Oh, it's about me. No, it's about, a lot. Because if he's doing it to you or, you're affected by it, a lot of people are.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? I mean, a lot of times people are afraid to report something
Yeah.
because they think that they're the only ones going through it, right? When in reality, it's happening to more than
Yes.
just yourself, right?
Yep.
So in order to make a difference, in order to make that change, you got to say something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can you share some success stories where anonymous tips help solve crimes or locate fugitive or missing people?
Yeah, so I mean, all those examples is exactly why Crimestoppers does what it does and why the nonprofit exists in order to make that difference in the community, right? We can start off with the most obvious, what we talked about, the gambling, the possible drug sales, right? So recently, our narcotics vice division was able to take information from a tip that actually came through Crimestoppers and put an end to an illegal gambling establishment, right?
Awesome.
And then the undercover narcotics vice division also had some information about drugs being sold in the neighborhood as well. And again, that was tip initiated, shared through our contacts, and made a difference, right? Shut them down, charged cases for distribution as well as possession. And then when we talk about our animal crime stoppers programs. Recently, there was a case that I personally had the opportunity to take a look at because it came across sounding urgent just because of the location and the description. So it was in a field area, Kemoku Street, right at the top of the overpass by Cartwright Field. And it was a report of a dog that had red all over it, right? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, near a field, a lot of traffic, maybe the dog got banged, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I don't do something, you know, this dog's gonna bleed out and lose its life, right? The fortunate part about it was I was able to find the dog. I mean, it was a very noticeable pit bull, and sure enough, did have red on it, but it was red because it was fabric dye, because the owner was residently challenged in the neighborhood trying to, you know, dye clothing, and the dog got into the dye, and that's how it. But you know, I mean, at the end of the day, right? There's certain things that, you know, you look at, you take it for face value, and like for me, I gotta determine, right? Is that something that I can delegate, or is that something I need to take action immediately, right? So in that case, you know, that was a happy, you know, circumstance, and ended well with, you know, the dog being healthy and happy, right?
That's
so
awesome.
you know, it was great, yeah. And then of course, for our student Crime Stoppers programs, right? One of the biggest challenges in the schools is that we get, like you mentioned earlier, numerous bullying cases, numerous weapons-related cases, numerous contrabands in the form of vaping, alcohol, you know, illicit drugs, and you know, those kind of things. When we get those tips, it's amazing how fast sending it into the school administrators, they take action on it. And for me, it was just very, you know, exciting to see that it wasn't something that was glossed over, or like, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it, right? Same day I sent it, same day I got a response,
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so it works, you know,
Yeah.
it works.
You guys, do you have any numbers, like in the last 45 years, how many people you guys helped get arrested, or?
You know, on our Crime Stoppers website,
On the
we
website?
actually have all the stats.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm like not the best when it comes to mathematical
no.
numbers and remembering
No, don't worry.
those statistics.
No worry. I just
right?
thought maybe you had. I was thinking, you know, I'm so thankful to Malia Zimmerman from my office, who gives me a line of questioning.
Right.
But like, you know, as you're talking to me, I'm going, I wonder if I don't know how much, because, you know, I know, because I've been involved with Crime Stoppers, you know, in the last couple of years, and I know you guys do a lot in helping assist the police officers, and I really appreciate it. And website, go check out the website. You'll get a lot of information on how effective Crime Stoppers is. So, are there any current cases you still need public assistance? We used to do this on our radio show, by the way. You know, I do an afternoon radio show, so we should maybe do a weekly, you call in and maybe we can get them out.
Well, let's work on that. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, you know,
perfect.
always, you know, grateful for opportunities
Yeah.
to share info and, you know, spread the word in the community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, there's so many different cases going on, right? I mean, I'm sure, you know, just over the weekend, right? You heard, you know, some of the cases that you know, came to the forefront, right? And you know, unfortunately, because those cases are still under investigation, right? I cannot speak on you know, behalf or give any details of those cases.
Again, the best thing to do is to go on the Crime Stoppers website and see what's happening, or how you can assist the police right now in some of those cases. You know, public safety is essential to every neighborhood. What do you believe is the most important role Crime Stoppers plays in making our community safe?
You know, the role obviously is sharing the information and getting the information out there to the members of the community, right? So earlier we talked about missing persons, we talked about,
Yep.
you know, featured fugitives, right? And the whole reason, again, for that is when the people from the community know how to help us, right? Know what we're looking for, know who we're looking for.
Yeah.
If they see this person, if they have information that they are, as our Crimestoppers president coined the phrase, right? They are the force multiplier, right? So, you know, the most important part is not only getting the information out, but letting the community know that you do have a role, right? I mean, everybody kind of looks at, you know, what are you doing for us, right? But what our Crimestoppers program does is it empowers people to realize that we're all in this together, right? You know, like Malia has her, you know, canoe regatta, right? We talk about Crimestoppers as a ho'e va'a, right? You know, it's a partnership where the va'a is the community, right? And then the ho'e, the paddlers, is me, my staff,
Yeah.
the HPD officers, right? We're the ones that are taking action from the community, right? And together, that's how we're making a difference,
Yeah,
right?
there's so much good in being being a supporter rather than just being, you know, somebody that just likes to yap. We get too much of that now, especially in this day and age with social media. Get too much of this going. You know, you can be more effective, you know, keeping our community safe if you just took the time to go talk to somebody that's involved in public safety, and you know, even find ways like how you can volunteer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's another huge component, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize, but myself and my office clerk, we're the only two paid employees, right? Because we're employed by the Honolulu Police Department.
Right.
The rest of the Crimestoppers
Volunteers.
organization, from the president all the way to the board of directors, every single one of them are volunteers who are giving their time, giving their expertise in order to see this program succeed and be able to keep our community safe. So,
You know, I gotta. There's so much good people in the 5 years being in office that really love their community, and you know, those people make a huge difference. You know, they go above and beyond to, like, you know, making sure that our community is clean, safe. So get involved. And this is part of the reason why we do this program, because we want you guys to email us, talk to us, so that, you know, you can get involved. So, what are your goals? What are your goals? Because I know this is a new role for you.
yes.
As the coordinator for Crimestoppers.
So, you know, last year when I started the program, one of my first goals was to just continue the success that my predecessors built, right? And so, you know, a year in now, you know, I feel very thankful and appreciative of the community support in allowing me to fulfill and keep this program going, right? Because at the end of the day, it wasn't anything that I did, right? It was what the community believed in and what the community decided to partake and help and come forth with tips, come forth with useful information, right? And then as well as the community support.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things, like I mentioned, as far as the nonprofit component is, you know, the community members are the ones that help to fund the reward payouts, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right, if we don't have people that believe in the program, then we have no money for rewards, right?
Right.
So, you know, that first goal was accomplished. So naturally, my second goal is now do something bigger, better, and, you know,
You want to share a little bit about maybe
get the name out there,
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, developing the partnerships.
Yeah.
You know, continuing to, you know, capitalize on my past experiences with District 1, District 7, community policing teams. It has allowed me to look at different avenues, right? And, even opportunities, that you've granted me, right? First, last year was on your radio show, right? Now, look, I'm on the big screen.
Hey, big screen. Big screen. But, I think people know how difficult it is to run a nonprofit. And not only run a nonprofit, but a successful one that's been around for 45 years, doing good works in the community. So how can local businesses, and so I'm talking to, maybe you flip into your station right now and you go, well, what they're talking about? Talking about Crimestoppers. So how can local businesses and community members support Crimestoppers and the mission?
So again, right, the way I look at it is everyone in the community that runs a business that has, a certain level of professional capacity, all great candidates to serve on the board of directors, to volunteer, to bring your knowledge, to bring your expertise, and look at ways to make the program even better, right? Or level up, as the
step up.
Yeah. And so that's one way, right? The second way is our call center, right? Anytime people call the 808-955-8300 phone number, when a call center volunteer picks up, that's exactly who they are, right? They're volunteers. So the more people we can, help us out to staff coverage, because we're kind of fortunate that Monday through Sunday, right? Our coverage is there 7 days a week, right?
Wow, okay.
Monday through Friday, our coverage is basically 8 to 5, right? On the weekends, it's a little bit different depending on, who is available. But we have coverage 7 days a week.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen by the same, people doing it all the time, right? What we need is we need to be able to entice the community members to feel like, if you have good interpersonal skills, if you have good problem solving, good investigative ability, and you want to help us, a lot of times when the calls come in, you have to ask follow-up questions, right? And so our volunteers would be great, would be awesome to have more volunteers for our call center.
So if you want to volunteer, what's the number they can call?
Well, the best way to volunteer actually is going to be visit our Honolulu Crimestoppers.org website. Yeah.
Oh, Sergeant Ho, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate the time, and thank you guys for watching.